This is the second part of the Cascade tutorial. I've got my host set up here on 0.80. I've got a remote set up here, 0.81, with two web browsers, two Chrome browsers open at the same time on the screen, just for simplicity, so you can see exactly what's going on. In general terms, you would only use one user interface to control both the host and the remote. So to start off with, we would normally go into the Cascade setting and set up the host to be on, and the role would be as a host, obviously, and with the IP address here is the IP address of the remote unit. Okay, and once you've put the IP address in there, you can then go on and click remote, as long as obviously you've set up the remote to be a remote Cascade unit. Under settings and Cascade, again, turn it on, and role is remote. Okay, so we've got that on, and you can see the bar here on my host machine has changed color to a golden color, which means I'm controlling the remote unit here. The settings, the mix engine, and everything else is set up here. Let's go through some of the extra features here. We've got sync snapshots. Now, if you've got the same snapshot names within a show on both units, it'll synchronize them and load them up together at the same time, including the queues. If you have sync mute groups on, let's turn that on and show you how that works. I'll go here to my setup of the mute groups, and as you know, there's a couple of ways to do it, and I'll just turn on channel 3 and 4 as a mute group on my host. Then I'll click there and turn the remote on, and I'll select channel 1 and 2 on the remote unit as a mute group. We'll go back to my host, into my mixer, and I'll look at the mute groups and select mute groups 1. As you can see, the synced mute group 1 of the remote unit is channel 1 and 2 as we selected, and mute group 1 of the host unit are these channel 3 and 4 that we've selected. Now, be very aware that if you unmute this, that's a manual unmute. You can certainly do that the same way you can manually unmute on a host machine. I can go to the remote from this side and manually unmute. You can see the remote is behaving exactly correctly. What you cannot do is go to a remote unit and unmute the mute group, because it's synchronized to the host. And if I mute it, it'll just remute it automatically straight away, because it's telling me that the mutes group on the host is switched on for mute group 1. You cannot turn it off this way. The only way to turn it off is to go to the host unit and turn them off. That's if they're synchronized. You can click unsync and take that off synchronization. Let's go back into my Cascade options here. Sync VCA level, that's I think pretty straightforward. My VCA levels are now synced in with the same way that we've done that before. If I go to my VCAs here, okay, and I go to my VCAs on this unit, and you will see that as I move one of the VCAs, the other one will move with it. If I try and move the remote VCA, it'll always bounce back because it's synchronized to the host. And this way you can have channels that you're controlling on both units. If you're using more than the 22 inputs, then you can have channels that you're controlling on both units